Good morning, students. This is your economics period, and in this period, I am going to cover the remaining topics which are there in the chapter 3, that is determination of income and employment, from book 1, that is introductory macroeconomics. Okay, students, in the previous video, we have studied up to multiplier, investment multiplier, the relationship between investment multiplier and MPC, and the relation between investment multiplier and MPS. Always there is an inverse relationship between multiplier and MPS. Okay, now moving to our next topic, that is full employment and involuntary unemployment. What is meant by full employment and what is meant by involuntary unemployment? These two topics we will cover now. Okay. Now listen carefully, students. John Maynard Keynes, J.M. Keynes, he is the person who defined what is full employment. What does full employment means? What does full employment means? That was described by J.M. Keynes. So J.M. Keynes defined the full employment in a different way. J.M. Keynes have defined the full employment in a different way. According to John Maynard Keynes, full employment always signifies, tells. According to John Maynard Keynes, full employment always signifies a level of employment. According to John Maynard Keynes, full employment signifies a level of employment where increase in aggregate demand does not lead to increase in the level of output or employment. That means according to, it is John Maynard Keynes, J.M. Keynes was the first person who described about the full employment. He defined the full employment in a different manner. According to Keynes, full employment is a situation. According to Keynes, full employment is a situation which signifies a level of employment. It is a situation of level of employment where increase in aggregate demand does not lead to increase in the level of output and employment. Full employment is a situation, according to J.M. Keynes, full employment is a situation where it does not lead what? In increasing the level of output and the level of what? Employment. According to John Maynard Keynes, full employment is a situation, full employment is a situation, or it signifies a level of employment where increase in the aggregate demand, even though the aggregate demand is increasing, but it will not lead to increase in the level of output and level of employment. I repeat once again. J.M. Keynes is the person who defined first the full employment. He defined the full employment in a different manner. According to J.M. Keynes, full employment always signifies a level of employment, a situation where there is an where there is an increase in aggregate demand. I mean, whenever the aggregate demand is increasing, which does not lead, even though there is an increase in aggregate demand, but which does not lead to increase in the level of output and the level of employment, such a situation is called what? Full employment. Whenever there will be full employment in the country, whenever there is full employment in the country, then it always causes the prices to go up. Whenever there is full employment situation occurs in the country, it always leads to what? Increase in the prices. Whenever there is full employment, I repeat, in increase in demand beyond full employment, when the aggregate demand increases beyond full employment, when the aggregate demand increases beyond the full employment, okay, then it causes prices to rises up. Actually, to have a comprehensive understanding, of determination of income and employment, to have a comprehensive understanding, detailed understanding of what? Income and employment, it is essential to have the basic knowledge. In order to have proper understanding, comprehensive understanding about what? The determination of income and employment, it is the basic knowledge we should have to know the concepts of involuntary unemployment and full employment. Suppose if you want to know the concepts of determination of income, the concepts of determination of employment, so in order to have a comprehensive, a detailed knowledge on determination of income and determination of employment, the student of economics must have the basic knowledge about the types of employment, that is, what is meant by full employment and what is meant by involuntary unemployment. Okay. So once again I'll tell what is meant by full employment. Listen carefully. Full employment refers to this one. Full employment refers to a situation where there is no involuntary unemployment. You can say like this also. Keynes defined a different manner. According to Keynes, full employment is a situation where there is an increase in aggregate demand which does not lead what? In increasing the level of output and employment. Okay. And if the aggregate demand increases more than full employment, then the prices in the economy goes up. But here, in a different way, I am defining you. What is full employment? Too easy to understand. What is meant by full employment? Full employment refers to a situation, a condition where there is no involuntary unemployment. Whenever there is no involuntary unemployment, when there is absence of involuntary unemployment, then only we can have full employment. Okay. I mean, here involuntary unemployment is what? Those who are willing to work at the current wage rate will get work. I repeat, what is meant by full employment? General sense. Full employment is a situation or a condition when there is absence of involuntary unemployment. That means a situation where all the people who are willing to work at the present given wage rate which are available in the market, and if all are getting jobs, that means that is called full employment. I mean, very simple. Absence of involuntary unemployment, availability of jobs for those people who are willing to do work at the prevailing market wage rates. Such a situation is called full employment generally. Now I'll explain what is involuntary, what is voluntary unemployment. First, I'll tell this one. What is involuntary unemployment? Listen carefully. What is involuntary unemployment? Involuntary unemployment. What is involuntary unemployment? Involuntary unemployment is a situation. Involuntary unemployment is a situation in which people are ready to do jobs, willing to do jobs at the prevailing market wage rate. I mean, whatever wage rate is available in the market at that time. So on that wage rate, if people are ready to work, okay, and they are not getting jobs, if the people are not getting jobs, suppose I am a person, so I am an unemployer. Now, actually, I am ready to work. I am ready to work any job. I am ready to do any job at whatever wage rate which is available in the market for the labor per day. In that wage rate, I am ready to work. Though I am ready to work, willing to work at the prevailing market wage rate, but if I am not getting the jobs to work, then that situation is called involuntary unemployment. So now tell me, what is involuntary unemployment? Involuntary unemployment is a situation where people are willing to do work, prepared to do jobs at the prevailing market wage rate, but they are not finding jobs, to work. Such a situation is called involuntary unemployment, and those people are called involuntary unemployers. This type of involuntary unemployment is largely prevalent in underdeveloped countries like India, where people are ready to work, they are willing to do jobs, any type of job, at the wage rate which is prevailed in the market. They are ready to do jobs, but they are not finding jobs. That is involuntary unemployment. I can say involuntary unemployment and general unemployment. Both are nearly same. Involuntary unemployment and general unemployment definition, both are same. Now, what is voluntary unemployment? What is voluntary unemployment? Voluntary unemployment is a situation. I'm sorry. Just a minute. Voluntary unemployment is a situation when people are getting jobs. Voluntary unemployment is a situation when people are getting the jobs at the prevailing market wage rate, but the people, they are not ready to take up jobs. People are not ready to take up jobs. That means, suppose I am a person, I am in search of jobs. I am an unemployer, I am in search of jobs. Jobs are available in the market. Number of jobs are there at the prevailing market wage rate. I went, job is ready. Even the jobs are ready, but I am not prepared, ready to take that job. Why? Because due to many reasons. One is, maybe I am having more wealth and property. Maybe I want leisure time. Maybe I want entertainment. So, since I am having more wealth and property, I want more leisure time, I want more entertainment. Or when I went to the job, the salary or wage which they are offering in that job is not sufficient for me. I mean, I want more salary, more wage for that job, but they are giving less wage, so I am not ready to work. Such a situation is called voluntary unemployment. I repeat, voluntary unemployment is a situation when jobs are available in the country, in the economy, but people are not ready to take up jobs because of several reasons, such as maybe they have more wealth and property with them, they don't want to work. Maybe they want recreation, entertainment. Maybe they want leisure time, free time. Or even though they're ready to work, then even though they went to ready to work, but the wage which is offered in the job is not as per the expectation of that person. I mean, the demanded wage of mine is more than the wage which is offered in that job. So naturally, I demand 20,000, they're giving 10,000, so I'm not ready to work. So that situation is called voluntary unemployment, and this type of voluntary unemployment is generally prevailed in developed countries. Developed countries. So now you understood what is the difference between voluntary unemployment and involuntary unemployment, and what is full employment. Full employment is nothing but full employment is a situation when there is absence of involuntary unemployment, where people are ready to work, willing to work, are able to get the jobs at the prevailing market wage rate. So there is no involuntary unemployment situation. Then that situation is called full employment. And according to Keynes, full employment is a situation when the aggregate demand does not lead to increase in the level of output and employment. Okay, is called, and whenever the aggregate demand increases, okay, beyond the full employment, then the prices will rising up. Now we will move to another topic. Now we are moving to another topic, that is excess demand or excess demand. What is meant by excess demand and what does it leads to? Listen carefully, very very important, very very important. What does excess demand means? And excess demand always gives rise to what? Now listen. Excess demand means if the aggregate demand, I mean AD, if the aggregate demand AD, excess demands means if the aggregate demand AD is excess to aggregate supply, that means if aggregate demand is more than aggregate supply, if the aggregate demand AD is in excess, I mean aggregate demand is in excess more than aggregate supply, corresponding to full employment in the economy. I mean already in the economy full employment is there. I mean there is no scope of involuntary unemployment. Full employment is there, and aggregate demand is more excess than aggregate supply. Then that situation we can call as what? Excess demand. I repeat once again, what is meant by excess demand? Excess demands means excess demands are more than. Okay. What is meant by excess demand? Once again, excess demand is a situation, is a condition, is a situation when the aggregate demand is excess, I mean more than aggregate supply. Or I can say like this, when aggregate demand is more than the aggregate supply. When aggregate demand is more than the aggregate supply, corresponding to full employment in the economy. I mean in the economy already full employment exists and aggregate demand is excess to aggregate supply, then such situation we can call as what? Excess demand. And excess demand always leads to what? I'm sorry. Excess demand always leads to what? Inflationary situation. Excess demand always leads to what? Inflationary situation. I repeat once again. What is excess demand? Excess demand is a situation when the aggregate demand exceeds than the aggregate supply. When the aggregate demand exceeds than the aggregate supply, corresponding to the full employment in the economy, in that situation we can say excess demand found. And excess demand always leads to inflation. Excess demand always leads to what? Inflation. Now what is inflation? Inflation is a problem in any economy. Whenever inflation occurs, then there is a sustained rise in general level of price accompanied by fall in the value of money. I repeat, whenever inflation occurs in any country, that means when there is a sustained rise, continuous rise in the general level of money in the economy, resulting in fall in the value of money. One side, the money circulation, the flow of money in the economy is increasing continuously. On the other hand, the value of money is decreasing. Such situation is called inflation. Whenever inflation occurs in any country, then in that economy, too much money will chase too few goods. If you pay more money also, you will get less number of goods. You are paying more money, but you are getting less goods. That means what? The value of money has been decreased. What is inflation? Inflation is a situation in any economy when there is a sustained rise in general level of price, accompanied by fall in the value of money. Whenever inflation situation occurs in any economy, then the value of goods, whatever amount of money you are paying more money. Too much money will chase too few goods. Even though you pay more money, you will get very less number of goods. That means the value of money has been decreased. So this inflation is a problem to any economy. And excess demand always leads to inflation. Now the inflation gap. What is inflation gap? See, the inflationary gap now due to excess demand, the inflationary gap started in the economy. So the inflationary gap is the difference between aggregate demand and aggregate supply. The difference between aggregate demand and aggregate supply. The difference between aggregate demand and aggregate supply is called the inflationary gap. The difference between aggregate demand and aggregate supply is called inflationary gap. So the inflationary gap is the difference between aggregate demand and aggregate supply at the full employment in the economy. At the level of full employment in the economy. The inflationary gap is graphically measure the excess demand. The inflationary gap. One graph is there. The inflationary gap. The inflationary gap is a graphical measure. It's a graphical measurement of excess demand. When the inflationary gap is more, means what? Excess demand is more. Next, this inflationary gap causes rise in the price level. I told you now, whenever inflation occurs in any economy, there will be a sustained continuous rise of general level of price accompanied by fall in the value of money. That means whenever inflation gap arises in the economy, it causes rise in the price level or inflation because full employment has already had been attained, and hence there is no scope for increase in output and employment. Next. So I said what is excess demand. Now I'll go to another one. What is meant deficit demand? Just a minute. Now we will go to another topic, that is deficit demand. Deficit demand, or I can say deficient. Like this also I can write. This is the opposite to excess demand. Excess demand, opposite is what? Deficit demand. What is deficit demand? Listen. Deficit demand means if the aggregate demand falls short than the aggregate supply. In the previous situation what we have studied, when the aggregate demand is exceeding the aggregate supply. When aggregate demand is exceeding the aggregate supply, that is called excess demand. The two in an economy where there is full employment. Now, what is meant by deficient demand? What is meant by deficit demand? A deficit demand means when the aggregate demand falls short than aggregate supply. That means aggregate supply is more than aggregate demand. That's called deficit demand. I repeat, what is meant by deficient demand, or what is meant by deficit demand? So deficient demand is nothing but it is a situation when aggregate demand falls too short than aggregate supply. That means aggregate supply is more than aggregate demand. That too, what? At the level of full employment in the economy. Quite opposite. This is the opposite to excess demand. Now, this is a situation of deficit demand exceeds. I mean, whenever aggregate supply is more and aggregate demand is less. Whenever aggregate supply is more and aggregate demand is less. That means whenever aggregate demand falls too short than aggregate supply. Such a situation in a country where there is full employment. I mean, two conditions are there. One is the aggregate supply should be more and the aggregate demand should be less. First condition. Second condition, there should be full employment in the economy. So when these two situations are there, then that situation is called what? Deficient demand. Deficit demand leads to always deflationary gap. Deficit demand always leads to deflationary gap. Inflation opposite, deflation. In inflation, what I told, the price level in the economy will increase, the money value will be decreased. Even though you are paying more money, you are getting very less number of goods, like this. So due to deficit demand, it always leads what? The deflationary gap. And deficit demand also leads to falling the general level of price. In inflation, the general level of price is increased. In inflation, the general level of price is increased. But in deflation, the general level of price is what? Falling. Okay, next. The deflationary gap. What is a deflationary gap? The deflationary gap is the difference between aggregate demand and aggregate supply at full employment. Again, just like inflationary gap. The deflationary gap is the difference between aggregate demand and aggregate supply at the level of full employment in the economy. The deflationary gap is a graphical measure. The deflationary gap is the graphical measure of deficit demand. The deflationary graph is the measure of deficit demand. Next one. Deflationary gap causes, listen carefully, deflationary gap causes the economy's income, output, employment, prices to decline. Always the deflationary gap causes economy's income, output, employment and prices to decline. Thus, it pushes the economy into underemployment equilibrium. Deflationary gap always responsible to fall in the general level of price. It also leads to the fall in the country's income, output, employment, prices, and it pushes the economy into underemployment equilibrium. Now, there are various measures. Already deflationary is causing so many problems. But at the same time, is telling here, there are various measures. There are various measures to correct excess and deficit demand. Previously, we have studied, this topic is very, very important. Whenever excess demand, arises in the economy, it leads to some problems. Now, how these problems can be corrected? Similarly, whenever this deficit demand occurs in the economy, then it leads to again some problems. How those problems are corrected? That means, what are those measures? What are those measures that helps in correcting the excess demand and the deficient demand? So there are various measures to correct both the excess demand and deficient demand. Yes, you will be asked in the board exam, what are the measures? Explain. What are the measures which helps in correcting the excess demand, and what are the measures which are there to correct the deficit demand? So there are various measures to correct excess and deficit demand. They are, number one, these are change in government expenditure, I mean fiscal measure. Your change in government expenditure is a fiscal measure. Change in government expenditure, which is a fiscal measure, and availability of credit, that is monetary measure. Availability of credit, which is called monetary measure. I mean, by both fiscal measures and monetary measures, both by fiscal measures, both by fiscal measure, FISCAL, fiscal measure and monetary measures. I mean, both measures are there. Government fiscal measures, I mean government expenditure, and availability of credit, monetary measure. Both measures are helping. Both measures are helping in correcting both excess demand and deficit demand. Now, the government reduces and increases government expenditure to correct the excess and deficit demand. See, whenever there is excess demand or whenever there is a deficit demand arises in an economy, then what the government will do? Listen, the government either reduces or increases government expenditure. When there is excess demand, the government will reduce. When there is deficit demand, the government will increase. So government reduces and government increases expenditure in order to correct the excess and deficit demand. Now, a reduction or increase in government expenditure, suppose government expenditure is reduced or government expenditure is increased. So a reduction or increase in government expenditure may affect aggregate demand. Hence, what? Correct excess. It helps in correcting the excess or deficit demands. Next one. Availability of credit in an economy. Credit availability is available where? In banks. Availability of credit in an economy. Availability of credit in an economy is regulated, controlled by the central bank. Who controls the availability of credit in the country? Central bank. In a central bank in India is what? RBI. I repeat, availability of credit in an economy is regulated, controlled by the central bank of the country. The central bank adopts, listen carefully, the central bank adopts the following measures to regulate the availability of credit. One question will be asked, what are the measures adopted by the Central Bank of India, I mean RBI, in order to regulate the availability of credit? What are the measures that are adopted by the Central Bank of India in order to regulate the credit, in order to regulate the availability of credit? Now answer. The following are the measures. The following are the measures that are adopted by the Central Bank of India or RBI in order to regulate, in order to control the availability of credit. Number one, bank rate. Bank rate. You have to explain what is bank rate. Bank rate. Second one, open market operations. OMO. OMO. OMO means open market operations. Okay. LRR. I mean legal reserve ratio. LRR. Legal reserve ratio. Which includes what? CRR and SLR. CRR, cash reserve ratio. SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. So CRR, I'm repeating, LRR, legal reserve ratio. LRR, legal reserve ratio. In this both will come. Okay, cash reserve ratio and statutory what? Liquidity ratio. These two will come under this one. I mean LRR, legal reserve ratio, which includes cash reserve ratio and also statutory liquidity ratio. So this one. Next one, margin requirements. Margin requirements. Next one, repo rate. REP, repo rate. So bank rate. Okay, open market operations, margin requirements, legal reserve ratio and repo rate. These are the measures adopted by the government in order to control the availability of credit in the country. Now, another question. Remedy, I mean solution. Remedy for excess demand or inflationary gap. Suppose in a country, in an economy, inflationary gap occurs. Suppose in any country the inflationary gap occurs. Okay, then how you will saturate, how will you control, how will you solve that problem? I repeat, what are the measures to be taken whenever there is inflationary gap, okay, or excess demand occurs in the country? Whenever excess demand or inflationary gap occurs in the economy, then what measures are adopted by us or by the government in order to control the situation? Here is the answer. In order to correct the problem of excess demand, in order to correct the problem of excess demand, I repeat, in order to correct the problems of excess demand, I mean inflationary gap, the aggregate demand has to be reduced. The aggregate demand has to be reduced by an amount equal to inflationary gap. I repeat, in order to correct the problem of excess demand, I mean inflationary gap, the aggregate demand, I mean AD, has to be reduced. Aggregate demand has to be reduced by an amount equal to inflationary gap. The aggregate demand may be reduced by taking the following measures. The aggregate demand can be reduced by taking the following measures. So what are the measures that helps in reducing the aggregate demand? What are the measures that helps in reducing the aggregate demand? The following are the measures. Number 1, reduction in government expenditure. Reduction in the government expenditure, first measure. Second one, increase in the bank rate. Reduction of government expenditure. Second one, increase in the bank rate. Third one, sale of government securities in the open market by the central bank, OMO. Sale of government securities. Sale of, I mean public sector units. Sale of government securities in the open market by the central bank, OMO. Similarly, rising CRR, I mean cash reserve ratio, and SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. Similarly, rising repo rate, I mean RR. RR means repo rate, rising repo rate. Similarly, rising reverse repo rate, I mean RRR, reverse repo rate, RRR. Similarly, rising the margin requirements. I mean you have to, first what is said here, whenever inflationary gap or excess demand occurs in any economy, how to control, what measures are to be adopted to solve the situation. So he said here, whenever there is aggregate demand or inflationary gap arises in an economy, the following measures are being adopted by the government in order to control the situation. First one, what we have to do? The aggregate demand has to be reduced. The aggregate demand has to be reduced by an amount equal to inflationary gap. And this includes the following measures. One is reduction in government expenditure, increase in bank rate. Reduction in government expenditure, increase in bank rate, sale of government securities in the open market by the central bank like OMO, rising RRR, so rising CRR and SLR, cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio, rising repo rate, I mean RR, rising reverse repo rate, RRR. Next one, rising margin requirements. So with all these, we can control the excess demand or inflationary gap in any economy. Similarly, opposite to that one, what are the remedies or what are the measures that are necessary in order to control the deficient demand or deflationary gap? What are the measures or remedies that are adopted to solve, to check the deficient demand or deflationary gap? Yes. Now answer. In order to correct the problem of deficit demand, in order to correct the problem of deficit demand or deflationary gap, what we have to do? The aggregate demand has to be increased. Earlier what we studied, aggregate demand has to be reduced equal to the inflationary gap. So here what is said here? The aggregate demand has to be increased by an amount equal to the what? Deflationary gap. There we are aggregate demand we are decreasing. Here aggregate demand we are increasing equal to the what? The inflationary gap. Second one, the aggregate demand may increase by taking the following what measures? The aggregate demand, how we can, I told now, how you can solve deficit demand or deflationary gap? Yes, we can solve the what? Deficit demand or deflationary gap by raising the aggregate demand. We have to increase the aggregate demand by an amount equal to the deflationary gap. So the following are the measures which are helping in what? Increasing the aggregate demand. The following are the measures which are used for increasing the aggregate demand. Number 1, increasing the level of government expenditure. There we studied decreasing the level of government expenditure. Opposite, increasing in the level of government expenditure. Second one, there I said increase in bank rate. Here reduction of bank rate. Reduction of bank rate. Now I said sale of government securities. Here what will come? Purchase of government securities. Purchase of government securities in the open market by the central bank, OMO. There I wrote what? Rising CRR and SLR. Here I will tell reduction of CRR and SLR. Reduce cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio. There I told rising repo rate. Here what? Reduction of repo rate. There I told you rising reverse repo rate. Here I will tell. There I told rising reverse repo rate. Here we have to reduce reverse. We have to reduce the reverse reserve repo rate. There I told you increasing the margin requirements. Here I tell you lowering the margin rates. So in this way we can control the deflationary gap or deficit demand whenever it occurs in any economy. So in this way, students, this chapter is over. So if time is there, question answer method, I'll explain some questions. I suggest you to read the material which is supplied by me, which is supplied in this e-learning groups. Read that one carefully. You read what is repo rate, what is reverse repo rate, what is open market operations, what is margin requirements. All these things you read in detail. I have sent that one in the e-learning group. Okay students, thank you, take care. Here ends our syllabus. Thank you.